Discover the incredible confession minutes before my son's wedding. I'll divorce the moment Jack Taylor stood in the sun-drenched backyard, a heart overflowing with pride yet teetering on the edge of anxiety. His only son, Ryan, was getting married today, a moment Jack had envisioned for years. He adjusted his tie and looked around, taking in the laughter and chatter of family and friends, the vibrant flowers, and the homemade decorations that reminded him of the family business he built from scratch. This day represented the culmination of countless hours spent teaching Ryan about hard work, integrity, and the value of family. As the guests mingled, Jack felt the warmth of the sun but also a whisper of unease wrapping around his heart. They captured moments in photographs, Jack smiling as he ruffled Ryan's hair, the young man dressed in a sharp suit, full of life and energy. But underlying the joy was an unsettling thought nagging at Jack's mind. Had he done enough? Just minutes away from the ceremony, he couldn't shake the feeling that something vital was slipping through his fingers. It was then that Jack stumbled upon a conversation that would change everything. He stepped just outside the bridal suite to calm his racing thoughts when he heard Ryan's voice, raw and full of emotion. "I'll divorce the moment I feel pressured to uphold our family expectations." The declaration struck Jack like a thunderclap, echoing through the fibers of his being. The walls he'd built around their values were they now crumbling. In that heartbeat, layers of self-doubt crashed over him like waves. Had his life's work, all the sacrifices made, led to this? The American dream he'd taught Ryan seemed to be teetering on the brink of collapse. He looked back at the joyful scene, a stark contrast to the worries weighing like lead in his chest. Before Jack could catch his breath, he felt an urgency to confront Ryan. As guests began taking their seats, Jack approached his son, the sun casting shadows of doubt on their relationship. "What did you mean?" His voice trembled slightly, but his heart raced. They were standing on a precipice, with time slipping away. Ryan's eyes widened, surprise turning into a mixture of confusion and a flicker of understanding. The moments stretched, silence seeped through the air, thick with unspoken words. "Dad, it's not what you think." Jack pressed on, desperation oozing from his words. "This is supposed to be a joyful day. I want you to be happy, but what you said, it scares me." Ryan averted his gaze, wrestling with the expectations he felt heavy on his shoulders. And with that, emotions surged, fears, insecurities, and years of unspoken expectations spilled forth between them. In that tear-soaked moment, Jack realized the foundation he'd built might not be what Ryan needed. Before they could reach a resolution, the ceremonial music began to swell, pulling hearts and souls toward the altar, where love awaited. The scene was set, guests eagerly exchanged whispers, the excitement palpable. Jack stood at a crossroads, not just watching a wedding unfold, but grappling with the crippling fear of losing his son to a world of external pressures that could fracture their bond forever. Just as anticipation hung in the air, Jack contemplated one last question lingering heavily: can unconditional love prevail over fear in the shifting sands of their American family? Jack stood there, frozen in the moment, the world around him fading into an indistinct blur. The gentle rustle of leaves and the sound of laughter from the guests seemed to meld into a single, overwhelming noise, a reminder of everything he held dear, and everything that felt now like a fragile thread. Ryan's expression hung in the air, vulnerable and raw, as if it could shatter at any moment. "Dad," he managed, his voice almost a whisper, "I just don't want to be trapped." There was a plea in his eyes, a fierce desire for freedom that Jack had never seen before, not in his son. It was as if a demon had emerged from the shadows, projecting fears of a life burdened by expectations. Jack felt the sun beating down, heavy upon him as he took a moment to regain his composure. This was supposed to be a day of union and love, not a confrontation of fears. "Ryan, you're not trapped. At least, I hope you're not." The words felt flimsy, almost ridiculous, as if reassuring his son was supposed to undo years of pressure wrapped in well-intentioned dreams. "I just want to create my own path," Ryan said, frustration coloring the urgency in his tone. "I love Emma, I really do," but his voice cracked, and Jack could see how deeply this struggle ran. "What if we end up like you and Mom? I don't want to feel like I'm living someone else's dreams." Jack flinched at the mention of his own marriage, the cracks he had tried to avoid. It wasn't that he and Sarah hadn't once been in love, it was just that they had lost sight of each other while chasing ideals. Had he passed that shadow on to Ryan? The thought cut deep. Ryan, listen to me, Jack said, channeling every ounce of fatherly instinct he had left. You have every right to shape your own life. It doesn't need to follow a prescribed path, but you need to communicate. Speak up for yourself, tell Emma what you need. Don't run. He felt a rush of desperation, yearning for his son to understand. Don't run from love, or from family. As the lyrics of the wedding song floated into the air, Jack caught a glimpse of Emma standing under the arch, radiant and nervous, eyes scanning the sea of guests, perhaps searching for Ryan. The sight gripped his heart. Underneath the swirling emotions, hope flickered. I don't want to disappoint anyone, Ryan murmured, his walls beginning to crumble, battling between fear and desire. Jack stepped closer, placing a steadying hand on his shoulder. Don't think of it that way, he replied, calming himself. What matters is that you find happiness. Not just for today, but for a lifetime. If you love Emma, let that guide you. The rest will fall into place. Jack saw a shift in Ryan's eyes, a flicker of understanding reflecting back at him. The tension faded slightly, leaving room for possibility where just moments ago there had been dread. Maybe this was the bridge they needed, a way forward as father and son. As the music swelled, Jack nodded toward the altar, where their lives were about to converge into something new. Let us go. If you're certain, then show her. Together. Ryan's gaze followed, a smile breaking through the storm. Thanks, Dad. With renewed determination, they walked toward the crowd, Ryan's shoulders less burdened than a few minutes prior. But as they took their final steps into the light, Jack couldn't help but wonder if this was just the beginning of unknown struggles. What if the fears had just shifted, ready to resurface in new forms? What if love wasn't enough to shield them from the inevitable challenges ahead? In that moment, as they approached the ceremony, the question lingered, was Ryan truly ready to navigate a life shaped by his own choices, or would he find himself fraying at the edges? As they moved closer to the altar, Jack felt the air vibrate with anticipation. The charming arch draped in white flowers and greenery seemed to glow in the late afternoon sun, contrasting the turmoil in his chest. He glimpsed guests smiling, the elderly couple in the front row visibly wiping away tears of joy. The moment seemed perfect, yet that sense of unease still lurked. He could feel it. When they reached the front, Ryan hesitated, glancing back at Jack with uncertainty, his smile faltering. Jack squeezed his shoulder, a silent reassurance even as his heart raced. Was Ryan truly ready for this? Ryan stood tall again, the smile returning as his eyes found Emma. She looked like a vision in her elegant dress, the fabric dancing lightly in the breeze, her expression a blend of excitement and nervousness. It was as if an invisible string tethered them together, pulling at the edges of Ryan's fears while promising a world of unknowns. As the officiant began reciting the words of unity, Jack watched his son closely. Each passing minute, he saw flickers of doubt dart across Ryan's face, mingling with the glow of love he had for Emma. I promise to love you. Emma's voice was steady, clear as a bell. She meant every word, and it made Jack's heart swell with hope for both of them. But when Ryan's turn came, his voice wavered, a crack slicing through his carefully prepared vows. I promise to build a life together if we don't, he faltered, the sweet promise abruptly interrupted by the devastating weight of what loomed over him. Jack's stomach dropped. It was as if Ryan was wrestling with invisible chains. The attendees shuffled slightly, murmurs rippling through the crowd as they exchanged glances, uncertainty mixing with excitement. Was Ryan backing out? Jack took a step forward. He felt compelled to protect his son, to shield him from the expectations of the moment, yet also aware that this was Ryan's chance to reclaim his voice. Just breathe, he whispered, though Ryan likely couldn't hear him. With a deep breath, Ryan met Emma's eyes again. Jack held his breath, longing for words that would put the demons to rest. I love you, Emma. But I can't promise a life built on expectations. A pregnant pause settled, and the silence was almost deafening. I don't want us to chase dreams that aren't ours. Emma's voice barely stretched through the weight of his admission. Her eyes clouded with confusion and hurt. Jack felt his chest constrict. Was this the moment that shattered everything? Wait. Ryan's words hung in the air, heavy with implication. What I'm trying to say is I want this. I want you. But let us build it together, our way. The raw honesty sparked in his voice, rippling through the gathered guests like a gust of wind. Saw the tension ease in Emma's shoulders. A flicker of understanding passed between them, hope igniting again, and Jack felt his heart lift. More than anything, he hoped this highlighted the truth of love. It was stronger when found amid vulnerability. Ryan. Jack's voice broke through the cacophony of thoughts, his own emotions spilling forth. You've just taken the first step into the life you want. You can do this. Just be real. The air shifted, a new resolve taking shape. Ryan's hand closed around Emma's, and for Jack, the swell of hope felt insurmountable, like standing on the edge of a vast ocean. But just as the officiant began to move forward again, Emma took a deep breath, a flicker of doubt returning. What if we stumble? What if we lose our way? Jack's heart sank. Was this really just the beginning of a bigger struggle? Would Ryan and Emma be okay? As the ceremony continued, Jack felt the weight of the unknown pressing down harder than ever. Love was powerful, but could it be enough to navigate the unpredictable waters they were about to enter? In the moment of that choice, he realized this was more than just a wedding, it was a promise to face the unknown together. Would Ryan and Emma survive the challenges? Or would the chains of doubt pull them apart? Jack's heart pounded in his chest as the officiant continued, his voice carrying through the crowd like a lifeline, but all Jack could focus on were Ryan and Emma. She looked at him with a mixture of hope and anxiety, and he wondered if she truly understood the depths of his son's fears. He wished he could shield them from the uncertainty swirling around this day meant to celebrate love. Caught in this moment, Jack recalled the countless conversations he'd had with Ryan. They had imagined this day together, filled with laughter, joy, and the kind of love that conquered all. Yet, it seemed that reality had thrown a curveball at his boy. I want you, Ryan had said, a sea of honesty washing over him, but the doubts loomed in the air like dark clouds. The officiant's words faded into background noise as Jack felt the weight of the silence pressing in. He silently asked for strength, not just for Ryan and Emma, but for himself too. He had raised Ryan to be strong, to fight for love, yet there they stood, on the precipice of something uncertain. Finally, Emma spoke up again, her voice steadying as she looked directly at Ryan. We can do this, right? No matter what happens? The courage it took to ask for reassurance made Jack's heart swell. Absolutely, Ryan responded, his voice stronger now, as if gathering courage from the depths of his love for her. It won't always be easy, but we'll find our way. But Jack's thoughts drifted to that simple question: what if we lose our way? What if love wasn't enough? He remembered how easy it had been for him and Linda before everything changed, before life molded them into something different. It always worried him that Ryan, despite his bravery, might one day face similar trials. Do you, Emma, take Ryan to be your husband? The officiant asked, breaking into Jack's thoughts. Her response was immediate, heartfelt. I do. The guests erupted into a chorus of soft cheers, their hands clapping gently, and the joy in the air felt tangible. Jack could see the light in Emma's eyes, the determination behind her words, but he felt his pulse quicken again as he wondered how real this was. Maybe love was a leap into the unknown, but maybe that leap felt just like falling without a net. Frightening. The officiant turned to Ryan, and Jack felt the all-consuming dread creep back into his heart. And do you, Ryan, take Emma to be your wife? Ryan looked across the gathered friends and family, his wide eyes darted back to Emma. I do, with all that I am. Relief flooded through Jack, only to be followed by another wave of uncertainty. Emma smiled wide, and the whole world seemed to hold its breath. Yet, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that deeper battles might loom ahead for them. The moments ticked by, and they exchanged rings, promising forever. Jack could see the joy radiating from them, and all he could do was hope it would be enough. He felt momentarily light, almost soaring with love for his son and future daughter-in-law, but then, Ryan's voice cut through again, quivering slightly, "But I also promise that if we ever lose our way." Jack's heart raced again. What was he about to say? "Ryan," Jack whispered, the panic rising. His son swallowed hard, looking from Emma to the crowd. "If we ever lose our way, I want us to find it together without the fear of it breaking us." The crowd held its breath. Jack felt frozen in time. Would this instead fracture everything? Emma reached for his hand, their fingers entwining tightly as Ryan's promise hung in the air. Jack saw the nuance in their gaze. Not the fear of losing, but the fierce desire to not just endure, but to thrive amidst the hard times ahead. But in the back of his mind, doubt flared. Would their commitment hold when life threw its challenges? Just then, as the officiant prepared to pronounce them officially husband and wife, one of the elderly guests stood up, a grave expression coloring her features. "May I say something?" Every eye turned toward the unexpected voice, tension filling the air once again. What could she possibly reveal that hadn't yet been said? As Jack felt the gravity of this moment unfolding, he wondered, would this day remain a celebration, or would it turn into something more complex, a reckoning of all they chose to leave unspoken? The elderly woman took a deep breath, her voice trembling slightly as she spoke. "I know this is a joyous occasion, but there are things we must acknowledge. Life can be unpredictable, and love tested by time isn't always easily understood." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jack's stomach twisted. What was she doing? This was meant to be a moment of celebration, not a conversation about trials and tribulations. "Many of you don't know me well," she continued, her gaze sweeping over the room. "But I've seen love flourish and falter. My marriage, well, it's been a long, intricate tapestry of joy and hardship." Her voice quaked, but a certain strength found its way through. "I've learned that commitment has to be more than just words." Ryan stiffened beside Jack, his brows furrowing. Emma's hand squeezed Ryan's, the connection a fierce shield against the storm brewing in the woman's words. "Face the truth," she said, her eyes locking onto the young couple. "Do it from the start. Or you might find that love doesn't always keep its promises. Sometimes, it's a fragile thing, easily broken if not nurtured." Jack's heart raced. He could see the impact of her words on Ryan. Was this really happening? As if reading his mind, Emma turned to Ryan. Her expression was a mix of concern and determination. She wouldn't let fear creep in. "Thank you for sharing," she said earnestly. "But we do believe. We believe in understanding, in fighting for each other, despite what may come." The tension in the air shimmered, a strange mixture of discomfort and hope. Jack noticed a few heads nodding. Maybe the fear that flooded the moment had a place after all. Maybe the elderly woman's warning rang true. Ryan took a deep breath, his voice steady as he freed himself from Emma's grasp just slightly. "I appreciate your honesty. But we have each other. We promise to put in the work. Together." There was a firmness to his words, an echo of newfound resolve. Jack felt pride swell inside him, but he also worried. Was one bold promise enough to counter such weighty truths? The crowd seemed caught in a mix of uncertainties and quiet reassurances. The elderly woman nodded, accepting their response, but Jack sensed this wouldn't be enough to silence the doubt that had crept into the air. The officiant was trying to regain control of the ceremony, but the emotions hung thickly now. Jack looked over at Emma, who remained a steady anchor even amidst the turmoil. "You can do this," he thought, fearing how fragile the balance truly was. As the officiant took a breath to reset the moment, Jack realized the fears he had for his son weren't ending here, but perhaps this challenging exchange could also lead them all to a deeper understanding. "Let us not forget," Ryan said, glancing at Emma before looking back at the crowd. Love is not just about the good times. It's a choice. A daily choice. The crowd seemed to ease, some even smiling softly at this reminder. Jack felt that familiar swell of hope, yet alongside it came a wave of trepidation. For every promise made, challenges would arise. How would they truly navigate this unpredictability? Just as the officiant prepared to speak again, Jack caught a glimpse of the woman's features softening. Remember to communicate, she offered quietly, even when it's hard. Don't wait until it's too late. Jack knew her words would linger long after this ceremony concluded. As the officiant cleared his throat, preparing once more to give the couple their vows, Jack's heart pounding echoed in rhythm with the uncertainty still thick in the air. What kind of journey waited ahead for Ryan and Emma? Would they truly find a way to stand resilient, even when life tests their commitment? The moment of truth was only beginning, and as the officiant finally pronounced, "You may kiss the bride," uncertainty hung once more. Would their kiss seal a bond unbreakable, or would it simply be the first step into unknown territory? Jack held his breath as the officiant's words echoed through the hall. "You may kiss the bride." The moment was charged with anticipation. Ryan leaned in, and Emma's eyes sparkled with joy despite the weight of the earlier words. When their lips met, it felt electric. The crowd erupted in applause, although Jack couldn't shake the idea that the elderly woman's caution still loomed in the shadows. Would this kiss truly mark the beginning of a forever, or would they one day look back at this day, overshadowed by doubts? As the cheers filled the air, Jack stood frozen, grappling with the contrast between happiness and the unease sizzling inside him. He saw Emma's parents beaming with pride, their smiles broad enough to rival the sun. Still, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that the fragile lines they drew in relationships could easily break. After a round of claps and cheers dimmed, Ryan and Emma turned to face the crowd, hands intertwined. Ryan lifted Emma's hand high, and the moment felt monumental, almost as if the universe itself paused to acknowledge the love blossoming before them. Yet somewhere deep inside, Jack felt heavy with unasked questions, each one heavier than the last. Can I pull him aside? Jack thought suddenly, heart racing. An instinct told him that now was the time to impart a lesson wrapped in care. With a gentle touch, he motioned to Ryan, who nodded, leaving Emma with her parents and moving toward him. "Dad, this is supposed to be a happy day," Ryan said, his voice low as they stepped out of earshot, a hint of apprehension in his eyes. "I know that," Jack replied, finding his grounding. "But you need to understand something important. Love is a choice. It's an everyday commitment. And it's easy to let little things build up." "Like what?" Ryan asked, brow furrowed. Jack took a deep breath. "Things you think don't matter in the moment, those little arguments about laundry or who picked the restaurant could grow if you don't communicate. Just promise me if something's bothering you, you talk. Don't wait." He felt the urgency in his chest. Ryan searched his father's eyes, determination mixed with a flicker of uncertainty. "I promise, Dad. Emma and I are serious about this." Jack nodded, relief flooding through him, but he also felt a fresh wave of trepidation. Could vows hold up against real-life discussions about feelings and disagreements? Rejoining the group felt oddly surreal. Laughter and conversations buzzed around him while Jack watched Ryan and Emma share a knowing glance filled with love and hope. Jack couldn't deny it, they were bound together beautifully, but could love truly conquer those unpredictable tides of life? As the afternoon wore on, the reception began. Tables adorned with flowers and shimmering lights created a beautiful atmosphere, each corner brimming with laughter. But in the back of Jack's mind, the elderly woman's words echoed. Suddenly, Jack noticed Ryan and Emma sitting together at a table, speaking in earnest tones, a serious look on Emma's face. Jack's heart pounded as a sense of urgency washed over him. What could they possibly be discussing? The fleeting moments of joy could just as quickly morph into something deeper and potentially troubling. In that instant, he recognized an underlying truth. Could a shadow of doubt creep into their foundation so soon? Hadn't they been warned? The day had been a roller coaster of emotions, and as Jack stepped closer, he felt anxiety coil tightly around him. What was Emma about to say? Would she voice the fragility of their love? Just as he approached, Emma's eyes glanced towards him, worry flickering like candlelight. "Ryan, I need to tell you something." Jack's heart raced at the impending confession. Would this be a revelation that tested their love, or a moment that solidified it? He couldn't wait to find out. Jack's breath caught in his throat as Emma's words hung in the air like a fragile thread. He stepped closer, almost unconsciously, straining to hear every syllable between them, as if the room around him faded into a blur. Emma glanced at Jack, her expression a mix of vulnerability and determination, then turned back to Ryan. "I just want to be honest with you about something important," she began, her voice steady yet soft. Jack could see the way Ryan's brow furrowed, a careful tension tightening his handsome features, mirroring Jack's own rising fear. "What is it?" Ryan's voice was quiet but edged with seriousness. He leaned forward, eyes fixed on Emma, straining to capture the weight of her words. Jack's heart thundered in his chest. This was supposed to be a day of joy and celebration. It wasn't meant for heavy confessions. But as he watched, the golden lights of the reception now flickered with the shadows of uncertainty. Emma inhaled deeply, as if bracing for the impact. "I've struggled with doubt, not about you, but about us, about the future." Each word cut through the cheers and music that reverberated in the background. "I'm scared, Ryan. Scared of what we're committing to. I want you to know that now, before it's too late." The air was thick with unsaid emotions, and Jack held his breath, desperate to see how Ryan would respond to her honesty. The room felt suspended, as if everyone in attendance had suddenly turned their attention towards this single exchange. Ryan's expression shifted from concern to something else, a deeper contemplation, perhaps. Jack could see his son process her words, his mind racing through possibilities. "Emma, I'm glad you're telling me this," he replied slowly, his voice measured. "Let's talk about it. We can figure this out together." Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him, though a small part of him still quivered with anxiety. This was precisely what he had wanted Ryan to promise: communication. Yet, beneath that relief lay a question: what if talking wasn't enough? Emma continued, her voice breaking slightly, "But what if I just can't shake this feeling? What if my doubts grow? I don't want to be one of those couples that fades away without saying a word." Tears welled in her eyes, vulnerability pouring out like the rain in a summer storm. Ryan reached out, squeezing her hand, feigning confidence even if a flicker of fear crossed his features. "We'll do the work together. It's not just about today or even the vows. It's about showing up for each other every single day." Jack, standing nearby, felt both hope and concern clash within him. Sure, they spoke the language of commitment and partnership, but reality was different than the promises made at the altar. Once you crossed that threshold, life had a way of testing even the strongest bonds. Emma nodded, but the worry in her gaze lingered. Just at that moment, laughter erupted nearby, a sharp, jarring contrast to the tension enveloping Ryan and Emma. Jack glanced over at the source, where guests were dancing and celebrating, blissfully unaware of the poignant moment unfolding at the table. "Look, let's not let this ruin today," Ryan said, pulling Emma back to the present. "We have the rest of our lives to figure it out. I want to enjoy this moment with you." Jack had to commend Ryan's attempt to lighten the atmosphere, though he could still sense the shadows lurking just out of sight. Emma managed a small smile, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. As they rejoined the fun and festivities, Jack's heart swelled with pride for his son. Yet, beneath that pride was a gnawing worry, the kind that remains steadfast, even in moments of joy. What if their shared vulnerabilities began to grow into something that would one day tear them apart? Questions swirled within him. Were they truly prepared for the complexities of a joined life? Would love be enough to navigate the storm clouds that might roll in unexpectedly, without warning? Just as Jack pondered this, Emma caught his eye from across the table. In that moment, he saw in her gaze a mix of fear, love, and Something else, an unspoken promise to try, to fight for what they had built, but how many promises could withstand the weight of reality? Jack's heart raced again, realizing that today was just the beginning of their journey. The path ahead wasn't clear, but the echo of those doubts still lingered, a question poised to unravel everything. What would happen if the next storm came, and this time, communication alone wasn't enough? The music swelled around them, a mix of lively beats and laughter filling the hall. Jack watched as Ryan leaned closer to Emma, an attempt to bridge the chasm of concern that had opened between them. But despite the smiles around the reception, the mood at their table remained tense, a shadow looming just behind the bright facade of celebration. "Let us just focus on the happiness today brings." "I want to feel that," Emma said, though her voice, still tremulous, betrayed her efforts to push her fears aside. Jack felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Just how much deeper were Emma's doubts running? Ryan nodded earnestly, but Jack saw a flicker of uncertainty in his son's eyes. "Okay, let us party, then. We've got cake, the first dance, and so much more to look forward to," he declared, trying hard to sound upbeat. Yet, beneath Ryan's bravado, Jack sensed an unmistakable heaviness. His heart ached for both of them. As the night progressed, Jack observed Emma and Ryan dancing, their movements graceful but somehow disconnected. Jack could hardly shake the feeling of dread settling over him. Were they merely two pieces moving through a game, unaware of the rules only the universe understood? At one point, as the couple spun around the dance floor, Emma looked over at Jack again. Their eyes met, and he felt that same raw mix of emotions in her gaze. A familiar warmth settled in his chest, hope, but mingled with that was a sharp anxiety. He wanted to reassure her, but he was equally terrified of his own thoughts. What if things didn't turn out as everyone hoped? After a few more dances, Emma pulled Ryan to the side, glancing back at Jack for a moment before whispering something in his ear. Jack strained to hear, but the music swelled and swallowed the sound. Curiosity clawed at him. It momentarily became unbearable as Ryan's face turned from excitement to concern. "Do you think she told him?" A voice beside Jack interrupted, pulling him back from his spiral of thoughts. It was Sarah, a family friend and someone who'd known Ryan since his birth. "I caught a glimpse of them just now. Something's definitely afoot." Jack felt the air shift as a chill snaked down his spine. "You don't think that he started?" But Sarah just nodded, her expression grave. "They need to be on the same page, especially after what Emma said earlier. No love can last without honesty, right?" She replied, her gaze flicking toward the couple again. "You can't build a life on uncertainty." Jack's thoughts raced. He leaned closer to Sarah, voice hushed. "What if this doesn't just affect them? What if it ripples out? What if they decide to split? Then we pick up the pieces, just like we always do," Sarah replied softly, though he could see the worry flickering in her eyes. "But don't despair just yet. They might just be working through it." The rest of the night unfolded like a tightly wound reel, with laughter and joy layered over a foundation of uncertainty. Jack couldn't pull his attention away from Emma and Ryan. He watched them dance, the clink of glasses and the chatter of guests fading into the background. With every passing moment, the question morphed into something more pressing. What if their journey together faced a greater storm, one that tested them beyond anything shared today? Finally, as the last song played, Jack took a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever might lie ahead. Emma and Ryan stepped off the floor, their eyes meeting his with an intensity he hadn't expected. But before Jack could join them, Ryan turned to Emma, and his next words cut through the chatter like a knife. "Are we really ready for this, Emma?" Jack's heart dropped. Doubt hung thick in the air, and he felt it weighing down his spirit. Were they on the precipice of something monumental? With each heartbeat, the looming question echoed in Jack's mind. What revelations might come from this moment of truth? Jack's breath caught in his throat as the air thickened around him. The soft buzz of the celebration faded away, and the world narrowed to just the three of them. Emma flinched, her eyes widening in a mixture of surprise and fear. Ryan, what do you mean? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, each word weighted with meaning. Ryan's hand dropped, and Jack could see the struggle on his son's face. Piece by piece, the excitement they'd built over the last few months seemed to unravel. I can't shake this feeling. Jack's heart raced. Was this the truth they had all feared? He wanted to step in, to say something, anything, but he felt glued to the spot, a spectator to their lives. Emma took a step closer to Ryan, her courage rising. You need to tell me what you're really thinking. Ryan hesitated. Jack could see the emotions fighting for dominance, confusion wrestling with fear. Finally, he whispered, what if we're rushing into this? What if all this, he gestured helplessly around the festive room, is just a distraction? Jack felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. He couldn't remember a moment where everything felt so fragile. The laughter, the dancing, would it all shatter into silence if they didn't find their way back to each other? Ryan, this is our day. We can't let doubts overshadow it. Not now, Emma said, her voice steady, but Jack saw her hands tremble imperceptibly at her sides. It's not only today, Ryan countered softly, pain flickering across his features. It's the rest of our lives. I just can't pretend everything is perfect when I'm not sure it is. Jack's chest tightened. He felt a rush of protectiveness for both of them, a desire to shield Emma from her own fears, to wrap Ryan in a father's comforting embrace. But this was not his battle to fight, it was theirs, and they had to find their own way through it. I love you, Ryan. But we have to face what's real, Emma said, her voice warming to an emotional fervor. We can't ignore what's bothering us. It'll only grow. The truth hung silently between them, a tether threading through the growing distance. Jack could sense the vulnerability layer as Ryan swallowed hard. Do you think it's too late? He asked, his gaze dropping to the floor. No, Emma replied, but Jack heard the tremor in her voice. But we need to lay everything on the table. Otherwise, we're just building a foundation on sand. Jack's heart ached as he watched the two young souls navigate through a moment that could define their lives. This was more than just a wedding, this was the beginning of something profound, the essence of commitment pulled into stark reality. Doubts shook their foundation, and he wished he could somehow ease their apprehension. From across the room, the laughing guests remained oblivious, lost in their own worlds. Jack felt disconnect. Their joy seemed hollow compared to the raw tension at hand. Maybe we need a moment, Ryan murmured, his eyes searching Emma's. Just to catch our breath. Together? Emma asked softly, hope threading through her tone again. Together, Ryan confirmed, and the shift in his energy was palpable. Jack took a step back, feeling the urgency thrum in his veins. Whatever happened next, this was something they had to face as a team. Would this moment lead them to break down walls or build a more solid bridge together? As Ryan and Emma walked out of the hall, their silhouettes blending with the shadows, Jack felt both dread and a glimmer of hope. Their love felt tested in ways they could never have anticipated. Yet, a gnawing question coursed through Jack's thoughts, were they truly ready to confront the truth, or would they slip away from the very love they fought so hard to honor? In that pregnant silence, he braced himself for the echoes of what was about to unfold. Jack's heart raced, split between worry and an instinctive faith that Ryan and Emma would find their way. He watched them step outside, silhouetted against the golden twinkle of lights cascading through the reception hall. Jack needed to trust in their love. This was their moment to confront uncertainties, to face the unflinching truth that lingered beneath the surface. In the serene coolness of the evening air, Ryan and Emma stood close, eyes locked together like puzzle pieces waiting to fit. Jack felt the pull of curiosity and concern as they began to talk. Their voices floated back to him like unexpected melodies, touching on fears, dreams, and what lay ahead. I want you to know I'm scared, Ryan finally admitted, breaking the weight of silence. Not just scared of us, but of failing you, of failing myself. There was a tremor in his voice, a raw honesty that melted through Jack's worry. Emma nodded, vulnerability shining in her eyes. It's okay to feel that way. I do too. But it's not about perfection, it's about being real. Together. Let us face our doubts head-on. No more running. She reached out, gripping Ryan's hands tightly, as though anchoring him, anchoring herself. Jack couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. His heart lightened at their courage, seeing his son grow into a man ready to confront the complexities of love, ready to break the cycle of silence that often fractured relationships. I don't want to build a life based on what others expect, Ryan said, determination etching his features. I want our story, Emma. One that we write ourselves. If we stumble, let us grab each other and keep going. Tears brimmed in Emma's eyes, and she squeezed his hands, a silent agreement to navigate this journey together, side by side. The way they locked eyes seemed to break through a wall, unlocking an understanding that felt palpable. Somewhere in the depths of Jack's heart, hope began to rise like dawn after a long night. Love could be messy, it could be intricate, but it could also be nurturing, forgiving, and brave. As Jack watched his son and future daughter-in-law embrace vulnerability, he felt a bittersweet understanding course through him. Ryan was ready to carve his path, free from burdens he didn't create. Jack's heart swelled with the realization that releasing their true selves was the only real option they could embrace. With a deep breath, Ryan pulled back slightly, gazing at Emma with a softness that made Jack's heart flutter. So, no matter what comes, we promise to be honest about how we feel? Absolutely, Emma replied firmly. No more hidden fears. Just the two of us. Jack smiled to himself, relief washing over him. This was the dawn of something new, a moment that could very well alter the course of their lives. Ryan had just taken a significant step toward maturity. Let us go back inside, Ryan suggested, his voice brimming with newfound strength. Let us celebrate, and then we'll revisit this later. Emma nodded, and as they began to walk back, Jack couldn't help but feel like a weight had been lifted. They were ready to face the challenges ahead, hand in hand. As they re-entered the festivity, the laughter grew louder. Jack felt like he was witnessing a beautiful transformation, both in his son and himself. Ryan turned to Jack, his eyes brightening. Dad, thank you for being there, even when it was hard. Jack's chest filled with warmth, and he reached out, wrapping his arm around Ryan's shoulders. Just promise to keep talking, all right? I promise, Ryan assured, and as their eyes met, a deep understanding passed between them. The dance floor beckoned, brimming with family and friends, laughter echoing through the room. Ryan twirled Emma, and Jack couldn't contain a smile. The celebration resumed, a tapestry of love and hope woven into every smile around him. As the music played on, he realized that love isn't always about certainty but about the willingness to embrace each other amid the chaos. Here's to new beginnings, Jack whispered to himself. And in that moment, standing beside his son and future daughter-in-law, he believed that together, they could weather any storm that might come. This was only the beginning. Now, before you leave, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and touch your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, showing your support for the journey we've just witnessed. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Your voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and remind them of the strength found in love and honesty. Let us spread this message together.